known as Progressive Martial Artists. We are live right now. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the big drama with the progressive movement was going on. Let me fix my stream first, actually. We're just not getting people in here, so let's, while they do that, I can get this fixed. I don't know why. I'm a dummy. There we go. So, guys, Snake here at the Progressive Martial Artist, and the big discussion that was going on this weekend was putting pressure on the squad and why we should force a vote on Medicare for All. And I think this is a great conversation for us on the left to have. At the end of the day, I never understand why people is upset that we even having this dialogue and this discussion. And there's a lot of people on the left that greatly confuses me. Greatly confuses me. The people who, instead of wanting to push the squad, instead of pushing progressive leaders, they rather act as cheerleaders. It's almost like they see politics like a team sport, just like the liberal class do, just like Blue MAGA, just like Trump and their fans, the people that go after and people who push AOC. I mean, I'm very, very nice to AOC compared to like a lot of people I associate with, and I actually like AOC. Unlike some other people, I believe AOC is actually very charming. I find her very charming. I find her to be very likable. But you gotta understand. We elected AOC, and this is go for all the squad members, every single one of them. We elected AOC, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar. We elected all of them because they had a mandate to fight on our behalf. That what we expected out of them when they got in charge. I'm gonna tweet this out because that's the segment I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna ask people how they feel about. I didn't tweet the stream out yet. I just want to get everything fixed up here. Anyone who's in right now, just let me know how the stream's going. Let me tweet this out here. I just not remember I didn't tweet it. How's the stream going for all you guys so far? Let me know how you feel, and I want you guys' opinion on whether we should force them to make Medicare for All vote. Do you think that's the right action on that? Like, will you strategically disagree with that? I think this is a very important discussion. I'm gonna say discussing why we should push Medicare for All to a floor vote and my impressions on LC and the squad thus far post election. That'll be the first segment. And I also want to talk about Biden and immigration, because NPR came out with a damning story, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think a lot of people in the liberal class will find it as damning as I do. What's up, Socialist Sienna? Hell yeah. Welcome. You're actually here early this time. I'm glad you're able to join us. RV's here as well. Noah B. Williams is here. And like I said, I'm starting this chat. We're doing a segment on Andrew Cuomo too. Andrew Cuomo is a Harvey Weinstein Democrat because Democrats they created this culture of perversion, a culture of degeneracy. That's what I call the billionaire class. It's not just the Democrats; it's the class that they are in. Like you see Kamala Harris fist bumping Lindsey Graham. That's because they are part of the same team, right? They are part of the same team. Crazy days. How you doing? What you about to eat, Sienna? Anyway, I'm glad I'm glad you dropped by. I just had a personal pan pizza. I've been doing pretty good in terms of what I've been eating. I'm Mario. Thanks for the follow. And since you guys are here, please follow, subscribe. We're so close to hitting my Twitch goal of getting to 100 subscribers before the end of the month. We only need like 23 left. No pressure, but I want to grow out the channel. And hopefully, you guys enjoy my voice. But what I find interesting is a lot of people they are defending AOC, the squad, and keeping Pelosi and the Democrats comfortable. And I'm like, for what? I mean, why do you guys get excited about candidates and politicians who don't take corporate money? I can tell you for a fact, the reason why candidates who don't take corporate money and are completely grassroots funded, the reason why that was appealing to me was because that means they will be more willing to fire from the hip, right? They'd be more willing to challenge the Democrats and challenge the Democratic Party, right? That's supposed to be the appeal. Like, what was the appeal of having candidates who don't take corporate money if they're not willing to stand up to the corporate-owned Democratic Party? I mean, they got good policy. I love the policies, but they're not actually willing to fight for Medicare for all. They're not actually willing to put pressure on the leadership now that we got increased numbers where we can actually use our leverage. Because if you're one of the people who believe, and just like Noah B. Williamson, thank you for the subscriptions, guys. Fiery Nova came in huge here. I appreciate that so much. We are fire so far. Ascendius MG, how you doing, bro? Glad you joined the chat here as well. If you don't think the progressives should use the power to force this vote for Nancy Pelosi, then you are justifying exactly a lot of people, while a lot of people don't believe in electoral politics. Right? Do you guys know what I'm saying? The reason why a lot of people don't believe in electoral politics is they're like, all right, you're not going to have enough people to challenge the Democratic Party leadership. So if you guys, even though we got all these amazing people, and how you doing, Ancon Libra, how you doing today? Like, we're just getting started, so I'm seeing my usual dropping through the stream. And I'm asking you guys, like, how you guys feel about Medicare for all being forced to a floor vote? How you guys doing? I am very interested in what David Schroeder take on this is. Right? I saw his take on this issue. Let me pull David Schroeder up. Because he said we should do this. We should do this. But there is even more actions that we can do as a progressive movement. I think we should take all of them. But the people that are saying that even we forced Medicare for all to a floor vote, and they were like, well, what if we do that and we're going to lose? Bro, the entire point of us doing this is so we will have a list of people who is willing to vote against Medicare for all in the middle of a pandemic. And this is extremely important task. You know why it's important? It's important because once we get this pushed to a floor vote, and once that vote happens, we create a large discussion around Medicare for all. And a lot of people who like to lecture people about politics, they don't know anything about politics. How do the left win? The left win because we got to fight against a massive amount of media, corporate media propaganda. That's how we win. That takes time. That takes communication. That's how we're able to make ground on defund the police, despite all the people concerned throwing on it, because we opened the dialogue on it. So not only do we open the dialogue on Medicare for all for the days leading up to the floor vote, which spreads awareness, but Medicare for all is massively popular. 72% of the country supports Medicare for all. And this is my point. People assume that average voters are as well informed as we are. Like, they assume that Democrats, they all care about healthcare. Like, for example, most of the people in the exit polling, they supported Medicare for all. Even Joe Biden supporters supported Medicare for all. But a lot of them didn't even know that Joe Biden was staunchly opposed to Medicare for all. And we have literally live example of why this will be an important task for the left to undertake. Because do you remember when Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren pretended they supported Medicare for all? What happened to their popularity? It blew up. Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris was at their best during the primary when they was pretending they were supporting Medicare for all. And then, despite all the mainstream neoliberal narrative, despite all thing they want to say, they say they got 1,000 reasons why Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris tanked. But the number one reason why they tanked is when they dropped Medicare for all. Because around the time they dropped Medicare for all, that is when they free fell in the polls. Because once again, people, despite it drive us crazy, people on the far left, people who are socialists, whatever, we can't possibly imagine we can't possibly imagine taking politicians at face value. We can't even imagine that. But normal people, they do that all the time. Like, they literally believed, Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris believed in Medicare for all. And that was the conversation that we had to debunk when we talked to people. Like, because I know as someone who actually canvassed and actually fought for Bernie Sanders, I saw people that say, no, Warren believes in Medicare for all too. I never believed she believed in Medicare for all. Never. For 1 second. Social CNN said the Democratic Party won't force a vote because they don't want to expose who's willing to. Yep, they don't want to expose who's willing to vote against Medicare for all in a pandemic. And they don't want to acknowledge that that's going to hurt them down ballot. Because if you're one of the people that don't think we should do this, are you trying to say that you don't think progressive down ballot primary challengers shouldn't have this ammo to use? Because if we put this to a floor vote, that will give us ammo to use against the neoliberal army. Right? So, what is your long game? It seems like there's a very particular part of the left that has no strategy. No, they have no idea how to put pressure on Joe Biden, how to put pressure on the Democratic Party. They are Democratic operatives. At the end of the day, they are Democratic Party operatives. They'd rather get along and maintain this false peace with the party, even though they know they're not fighting for us. They'd rather help. Like, these are the people that only go after Republicans. Like you know, that kind of people. Those people drive me crazy. Yeah, we can tear down Republicans all we want, but we beat the Republican, we just replace it with the neoliberal. So we not advancing our interests. And me being ran by Democrats in a Democratic city, in Kansas City, and if you look at African Americans, we largely ruled by Democratic-ran cities and Democrat-ran areas, in urban areas. So how are you going to affect your life without pushing the Democrats and dragging them to the left? Crazy Day said Warren was doing very good till she backtracked on Medicare for all. Great comment, Crazy Day. That's exactly what I'm saying. So we had all these candidates that was doing well when they supported Medicare for all, and then they backed away from Medicare for all, and then they tanked in the polls. So imagine what would happen if we had a list of people who voted against Medicare for all. Imagine the power that someone like me, if I ran in 2022, or some of my friends who consider running in 2022, I can blame Manuel Cleaver. Because Manuel Cleaver has been my congressman. My congressman has been very vague on whether he supports Medicare for all. He said, I like the idea of it. And then at one point he said he's supportive. But I want to have my congressman, who's been very vague on this topic, I want to see him vote on it. I'm pretty sure Manuel Cleaver, since he's against the Green New Deal, he will vote against Medicare for all. I did some digging, and he's very vague on the topic. Okay, he one of the people that always pivot to, I believe healthcare is a right. He very carefully tried not to speak against Medicare for all. We have the Blue Dog Democrats, the hardcore Blue Dogs. They will openly come out against Medicare for all. They don't give a fuck. But people underestimate. I see this all the time. There's a large amount of Democrats who they're smart enough to know they can't come out against it that actively. So they will prop up the Obamacare. They will say we need access to health. They will use all the talking points that will trigger anyone on the left, right? But they don't support Medicare for all. So we put this to the vote. Boy, look at all the ammo we have. Look at all the ammo we have. Let's get some of the comments. Some of them just hate Demion and putting that first. Something, and this is something, a criticism I have of some people I even like in media. Like, a lot of people don't understand how much ego is involved in this. I just got into this year. But I feel like I literally see, like, the TYT left, right? The TYT left. I feel like they attacking Jimmy Dore because they attacking this idea just because they don't like Jimmy. Everyone I see, like Anna, like she made an attack on Jimmy. It's like, bitch, we not talking about that. We're not talking about playing Medicare for all for vote. We're not doing that. That's not our main thing, right? Like we not. They trying to obfuscate the issue. That's what they're trying to do. And that's my point I was making. I'm like, if you are complaining and shifting the topic of conversation to Jimmy Dore has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Jimmy Dore has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's literally just about the issue. To me, like someone mentioned before, like, why are you defending Jimmy Dore? Why are you doing all this stuff to defend Jimmy Dore? And I'm like, this has nothing to do with Jimmy Dore at all. This is about the issue. And the problem I see is people in American politics, they pay more attention to public personas. And it's a competition of public personas. And obviously that's something that affects the left as well. It affects the left so much that we can't even talk about this very basic issue without people talking about we can't trust Jimmy Dore because he don't got real intention. You know what I heard someone say? Someone said, I mean, this is a comment that had a lot of likes on it as well. A lot of people had a lot of likes. They had a lot of likes when they tweeted this out. They said Jimmy Dore is not to be trusted on this because the only reason Jimmy Dore wants to put this to a floor vote is because he knows that Democrats are going to vote it down, and he's going to use that to say, this is why we shouldn't go to the Democrat Party. And she was saying that Jimmy Dore is trying to use this as a trap so he can talk people out of voting for Democrats. Like, these are the opposition. This is the arguments that they were making. Let me tell you why that doesn't make sense at face value. That doesn't make sense at face value because Jimmy's point is if we can't even get progressive leaders to force a vote, if AOC and them won't even use their power to force a vote, why should we invest in the electoral system? So she actually got the exact opposite. You know what I mean? So she said that we would be discouraged from being electoral politics and investing in the Democrat Party if we had to vote. But I'm saying that there should be no reason why we should even invest in electoral politics to begin with if we can't even get that vote. So the same people that always talk about how important electoral politics is, you guys are kind of exposing your argument because if we can't even use electoral politics for this basic point, then why should people why should a working family donate to a campaign? Why should they continue to prop up people like LC? They can't even fight for healthcare in the middle of a pandemic. They can't force their party to do that because they want to be comfortable. They want to be liked around their co-workers. That's the aim of our progressive leaders who don't want to rock the boat too much. That's how I see it. And I don't care if they're comfortable because to me, public servants, they are only an instrument by which I get my policy platform accomplished. But I am not shutting down all criticism because there are good criticisms with this. And we're going to go through some more stuff that they can do. Let me see what you guys are saying about this. They should fight for a Medicare for all vote and a coronavirus care for all. Yeah, they should fight for a UBI as well. I think they should do that. The real issue would be progressives push a vote for Medicare for all, not Jimmy Dore. Yeah, Jimmy Dore had nothing to do with this. Then they talk about TYT. A few people said TYT fell off. TYT was good for getting my generation and breaking them out of their liberal brainwashing in the mid 2000s. I haven't watched TYT for a very, very long time. All criticism aside, they're very vanilla. Like there's so many, cause they paved the way for lefty media, but now like I can constantly name multiple channels that are way better than TYT. Why would anyone watch TYT? Oh, compared to all the great independent news we have right now. And the fact they are Democratic partisans who they have a lot of giant problems. But I don't even have to dive into the problems of TYT. I just can just say there's so many bigger they're very much better leftist voice than them. They're so vanilla, and it seems like they all just want to be on just like Crazy Day says. They all want to be on MSNBC. That's what it seems like to me. And it's just all anti-Trump this, anti-Trump that, anti-Trump this. Like, bro, we know Trump sucks. Exposed why Joe Biden sucks. Cause I tweet this out today. Cause cause when we fell for when I was getting my hopes about Julian Assange, I was like, bro, if Donald Trump did pardon Julian Assange, like the lesser of two argument is dead, because he would do probably one of the greatest acts any president have done. He's still horrible. He will still be horrible. But the idea of you ever selling Joe Biden as a lesser of two evil to me was always ridiculous. And so instead of like breaking down this stuff, because a lot of people don't know this, let me show you guys. A lot of people don't know this. I read this on my stream before. This is just one tidbit of Joe Biden's record and one tidbit of the bankruptcy bill. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share it with my homies. So before I read that, let's cut a quick hour. Quick, I'm gonna get some comments as well. The comments is bang today, guys. I'm gonna read some out soon. Keep them coming. If you guys want me to cover any stories, just let us know as well. I'm gonna say covering Joe Biden's bankruptcy. Dude, I did this segment so many times, but I feel like we need to keep doing it, because anytime I post it, people are like, what the fuck? Like, a lot of people don't know this. And I don't know how anyone can make the claim that Joe Biden is a lesser evil to anyone. Over anyone. If you consider the crime bill, his Iraq war vote, him pushing imperialist wars, him being a sellout of the credit card companies, and then just the bankruptcy bill. So we only gonna cover one of the many things that made Joe Biden awful. Covering Joe Biden bankruptcy bill. A lot of people don't discuss this when bringing. Well, some people do that. The thing I see with people is it's not part of the conversation. A lot of people talk about the crime bill. They bring up the bankruptcy bill, but there are a lot of amendments that, in particular, he voted for that makes it awful. Covering Joe Biden bankruptcy bill and why he is not a lesser of two evil. Now is your time to yell at me if you disagree. Bring it. Yo, that ad is fire. I wasn't planning on saying that, but I was like, bro, a lot of people hate me because my stance on lesser of two evils. A lot of people hate it, but I'm like, bro, as soon as I start speaking to a lib or a progressive lib, you guys know what I mean when I say that. Whenever we talk about lesser of two evils, they never talk about policy. Never, ever talk about policy. The second I bring up the crime bill, the bankruptcy bill, I ask them something very, very, very simple. Do you really believe, do anyone believe that in 4 years, and I know Trump's record really well on what he actually did that's horrible. Do you really believe in 4 years Donald Trump did more damage than Joe Biden in the crime bill? I asked the chat this right now, because I literally tweeted to my 53,000 followers, all the people that see my tweets. This is your chance to yell at me if you don't disagree with me. This is your chance. Call me out. I want to see you in the chat. Troll in the chat right now. Because anyone who knows my Twitter is at SocialistMMA, they know that I am about this fucking argument. And no one's gonna argue to me that Joe Biden is not one of the most harmful public figures in American history. I'm getting hyped. I want people to come in here and argue against me. I want people to argue against me when I say this. Trump is awful, but his policies are not that long lasting. Yeah, exactly. Like, everything Trump did that was absolutely horrible that can be undone just like that. And all of the worst things that Donald Trump has done, Joe Biden has not literally indicated 1 second he's gonna get rid of it. Has Joe Biden said he's gonna get rid of ICE? Has he? Don't worry, I'll wait. He still like old D Gaming said he still defends the crime bill. He still defends it, and he still thinks it's a necessary step. And people talking about the very, very tragic death of Brandon and how Donald Trump just executed him. Who do you think signed that shit off? Who do you think signed that off? Since I'm in the mood today, let me show y'all something, because I'm gonna pull it up. Let me find the video. Should be under any media. I'm gonna show you another reason why Biden not even anywhere near being the close to the lesser two evils. Damn, if I can find it. It's gonna be a bit. It's gonna be a bit. Hold up. I don't know if I can find it. I should just take a quick second. It'll take me a quick second here. Boot to the head. What's up? What we doing today? I invited some trouble because I was like, bro, I want everyone on Twitter talking about how it pisses me off how people pretend Trump is the lesser two evil, and I want people to explain to me why I'm wrong here. I want someone to explain to me how Biden the lesser two evil. Let me focus on finding this though. I posted in response to. Damn it. There it is. So, I remember someone got mad at me because he was talking about like Brandon Bernard, and he was like, "How you say Trump is not the worst thing after Trump just executed Brandon Bernard?" And this is what I'm saying. Like all the worst things that Trump has done, because this is what I'm saying. Like if Trump actually did pardon the sign, like the lesser two evil argument is over, right? This guy said Trump pardoned Assange days after Brandon Bernard was executed. Doesn't feel like a win, which I agree. I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad post. I'm not shitting on this guy. But once again, everything that Trump has done is because of the power that Joe Biden has given him. Listen to this. You think this guy would have stopped it?
Death penalty proposals, and I might add, Biden crime bill is before us, calls for the death penalty for 51 offenses. A wag in the newspaper recently wrote that something to the effect that Biden has made it a death penalty offense for everything but jaywalking.
Psychopath. Absolute psychopath. And once you realize that the death penalty is a way of the state of executing black people, you understand that this is even worse, because white people with the same crimes, they don't get charged death penalty. Black people get what? I should find the stats, right? But black people get the death penalty way more than anyone else. And this is Joe Biden. Let's play it again. I want you guys to hear how evil this is.
The president's death penalty proposals, and I might add, the Biden crime bill is before us, calls for the death penalty for 51 offenses. A wag
51 offenses.
In the newspaper recently wrote that something to the effect that Biden has made it a death penalty offense for everything but jaywalking. The president,
once again,
death penalty proposals.
Who did more damage than Joe Biden? Like once you consider the fact that the death penalty has been used as a way to kill our community, when you hear him enthusiastically support the crime bill, you want to tell me that Trump is the lesser of two evils? So if you're one of the people that say in 4 years Donald Trump did more damage than Joe Biden's done his entire career, you have Trump derangement syndrome of the highest order. Forgive Chi in the House, MVP status goes to Forgive Chi. She's the real MVP. The real MVP is in the house. Let me get to some of the comments. I've been missing the comments. I'm going off. I invite people to come in to yell at me because people always want to yell at me about my stance on Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now they finally get a chance, and they know where to be found. They know where to be found. Where you guys at, dude? Do I need to retweet it? Do I need to retweet it? Yeah, the racial jungles, like OD Gaming said. Dude, can you imagine if Donald Trump, dude? Wait. Imagine if Bernie Sanders said that. Fuck Donald Trump. Right? Damn, I hope I can find a bigger version of this. Look at this. I just found this on Google. I don't want my children to grow up in a jungle, a racial jungle. Dude, you know the last part of this cracks me up so much. This part cracks me up so much because Joe Biden wanted this to be so racially charged that he added a racial jungle at the end just in case it didn't come. Just in case you didn't read that, if you didn't think that was racist enough, if him saying I don't want my kid to grow up in a jungle, he wanted to make sure that you know that he was talking about a racial jungle. that part cracks me up the most. I don't want my children to grow up in a jungle. A racial jungle. Bitch, we know what you were talking about. We know what you're talking about. He wanted that whistle. He wanted that dog whistle to be so loud that he had to add that part. Rocky Flynn said, bro, my 11-year-old sister clapped her teacher in a political argument. Damn! Your little sister is too fire. He was saying Biden is good, and she talked about the bankruptcy bill and crime bill. So it seems like your family is built different, Rocky Flames. Dude, these Zoomers are on the next level. These Zoomers are insane. When I was 11, I was just a dumb kid lib. We were dumb kid libs. That was what I was. I liked Obama. I was cheering him on up to 2012. Now you got kids that's like, have you heard of the bankruptcy bill? That's heat, man. I'm so proud of the Zoomers. So proud of them. The Zoomers are my pride and joy, except the fascist ones. Like Zoomers said, fuck centrism, fuck centrist. Zoomers like, I'm gonna be either a hardcore socialist, hardcore communist, or I'm gonna be straight up fash, straight up. At the Black Leaders meeting, he said, if we cannot make significant progress on racial equality, this country is doomed. It's not doomed because African Americans, but because 2040, this country is going to be a minority white European. Who said that? Did Biden say that? Did he say that? I didn't hear that. Biden said that we're gonna be doomed in 2040. I don't know. I gotta look up that. I gotta look that up. Did you really say that? Oh, did I misread your comment? K31K. Anarchists as well. I love all the homies on my left. We never punch left over here. We never punch left over here. My friend Forgiven, she always preach about why American propaganda always go against North Korea and why we shouldn't be sanctioning them. I'm like, hell yeah. I never even considered that. That's a good fucking point because their sanctions literally just hurt their people. That's all that is. Damn, we got 45 people in here. Nice. Not bad. How you guys liking the stream so far? How's stream? Make sure you guys see any cool stories that you guys want to share. Let me know. I still haven't finished the Medicare fraud story. This is what David Schroeder said. And I want to give this. I want to amplify this. Look at this. This is what Schroeder said. Because Schroeder agrees with the cause to force Medicare fraud to full vote. But I read this. I'm like, this is great points to be made. Because this is the kind of stuff that we need to be fighting for right now. And this is why I said this conversation at the end of the day. The people who pretending this is a bad conversation to have, they are they can't be anything other than Democratic Party shows. Thank you for giving, Chi. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I should force you to come on these streams. You lucky I haven't forced you to do that yet. It's cool though. You got a life. It's all good. Rocky Flames, I'll let her stay up and watch. Oh, you talking about your woke ass Zoomer little sister. Just so people know what I'm talking about. He said I'll let her stay up and watch Massachusetts Senate Dem primary. She saw Ed Markey winning and turned to keep and shouted centrist bonk. Then she went around talking heavily to her conservative and centrist class about it all day. Okay, so your little sister is woke as hell, essentially. That's what you're saying. Your sister is woke as hell. Most of my family is apolitical, but I radicalize my entire family. My brother is in straight up burn down mode. I love it. I remember my sister told me, she never been that much into politics. She never been into it at all. But it was around time that I was openly into politics, where I was traveling with Bernie Sanders and his campaign. And she was hearing about my political opinions. She said, she told me I need to start getting into politics a little bit more, because she just assumed politics was bullshit. And she didn't even understood that politics, you can even approach politics in a revolutionary way, in which I do. Where I was like, yo, we got to destroy the establishment. So my sister was like, oh, I'm more interested in that kind of politics. And that's the point I always make to other people, because my sister, she wasn't engaged with politics because she found it to be bullshit. From day one, she always thought that. She never voted. She never discussed politics. So people who always talk about, oh, Joe Biden won the black vote. Black people love Democrats because they vote for Democrats. About 50% of black people don't vote. And them not voting is a direct indictment of our political system. Because we don't believe this shit works. You know what I mean? We don't believe this shit works. And this is what I'm saying. Like, people always want to punch left. And they want to blame the progressive left for when Democrats lose House seats. They want to blame third-party voters. They want to blame me because I voted for Joe Stein in 2016. I voted for Howard Hawkins and Angela Walker this time. But instead of blaming me, why don't you get my sister's vote? Why don't you get those black people who don't vote? Why don't you get them? Because those are the people who those people are a much larger percent of the electorate than the people who vote for third party. I want to see if I can find that graphic. Because there's a graphic that's funny because it shows the percentage of each vote. And it was like, why is this percentage of the voters, the liberal class, blaming the 0.2% that was this election was like 0.5% of people who voted against a war criminal and voted against a rapist, right? So we are the ones who vote against a rapist and all that stuff, and a war criminal. But they blame that 0.5% of people who vote for Joe Jorgensen and Howard Hawkins. But they don't talk about the 45% of people who don't vote. Those are the voters you're supposed to be going after. And that's why I would never in a million years apologize for voting for a third party. Because if you actually had a campaign worth of running and anyone actually cared about you, they would have voted for you. And nothing that my Twitter page can ever do that can hurt a Democrat. Actually, I convinced a lot of people to vote third party. But that didn't matter. At the end of the day, it didn't fucking matter. Joe Jorgensen and the Libertarian Party, they hurt Donald Trump. Like, Joe Jorgensen did more damage to Donald Trump than the Lincoln Project did. Right? You know I read that. They ignore anyone that doesn't vote as if voting is accessible. Voting is not accessible. Yep. Let's see. Let me get to one of these. What about the 9 million Obama-Biden voters who voted for Trump in 2016? Dude, that's a narrative they never want to hear about, right? They never talk about that. They never talk about the people that used to vote for Obama and then switched to Biden. If you bring it up, their brain will malfunction. And someone oh damn, I lost the chat. Crazy Day said Howie was horrid. I voted for Angela Walker. I didn't vote for Howie Hawkins. That's how I live myself with that. Howie could have been much better, but like I said, I'm part of the people. I'm part of that less than 2% that that voted against a war criminal and rapist. This is a very damning state of our society, isn't it? There's only less than 1% is willing to cast a vote against a rapist and a war criminal. Very damning. Let's continue to this David Schroeder article, right? Actually, I still haven't finished this story. I'm gonna tweet out another ad about it. Oh, I was talking about the. Bruh. Actually, no. Let's read this right now before I forget. I'm gonna retweet it and I'm gonna read it. Because we have the America for Our Vote and we had a discussion about the lesser of two evils. I'm gonna get to the discussion of the lesser of two evils. We can go back there because I want some. Like I didn't get the opposition I was hoping for. Because people hate me about my stance on lesser of two evil, but they don't want to come to my Twitch page and they don't want to debate me in live form with it, right? Let's see. Actually, yeah, let's retweet that one. Because I'm like, if you don't know what the bankruptcy bill is, check this out. Because they want to talk about the crime bill. When they talk about how horrible and how racist Joe Biden's been. But there's been no other piece of legislation other than the crime bill that did as much damage to the black community other than the bankruptcy bill. In my opinion. Not even close. Look at this. Let me just put my head so you can see it all. And a lot of people who watch my stream for a long time, I apologize because you've seen this before, but I want the new viewers to see this now. Because if you read this and you still make the argument that Joe Biden the lesser of two evils, you are a deeply, deeply unserious person. Biden voted against 3 amendments to ease bankruptcy requirements for consumers whose financial struggles stem from medical expenses. Let me repeat that again. He voted against 3 amendments that ease bankruptcy requirements for consumers whose financial troubles stem from medical expenses. And people who watch my channel know that all the medical debt, despite us only being 13% of the population, black people hold 31% of the medical debt. So once again, what is more anti-black than doing this? There's nothing more anti-black than this. Because we're the people who hold the medical debt. He voted against an amendment that would have kept seniors to keep their homes. Woo! How is that? How can you put this guy over anyone? Do those seniors, do that not count? Do those seniors who lost their homes, do that not count? He voted against exempting service members of widows killed in action. Widows of service members who was killed in action. What? What? And this because he working as the credit card company guy. Crazy Day also talking about he want to cut Social Security and VA. So this is the point that I want to make, and this is what I hope you guys realize. This is only a very, very, very small part of Joe Biden's policy record. A very, very small part of it is this. This alone, like ignore everything else. Like this alone would make me never ever vote for someone, let alone everything else. Jesus. He voted against an amendment to exempt women whose financial troubles stemmed. Oh, I lost my place. My screen messed up. He voted against here we go. Whose financial troubles stem from deadbeat husbands' failure to pay child support or alimony. So I approach this from my angle, right? As someone who say Joe Biden the most anti-black public servant in American history. But if you are a feminist, can you use that line to easily say that Joe Biden is extremely anti-woman? He voted against an amendment to exempt women whose financial struggles stem from deadbeat husbands' failure to pay child support or alimony. What? What's more anti-woman than this? I'm asking the women who watching. I ain't trying to talk for you. But I mean, I guess you can be pro-life. You can be against abortion and that stuff. But to me, that's just like another red flag. Just like that. Biden voted against the amendment that will ensure children of debtors could still be given a birthday and Christmas presents. What? Like, he voted against... so, he made it so kids won't get Christmas presents if their parents are in debt. Wow. You guys want to make the argument that this guy is lesser too evil for me. Someone please explain that to me. So I've been waiting to see if someone gonna enter the comments and disagree with me, because people love to act like I'm crazy for bringing up the fact that Joe Biden is extremely anti-black and someone who is beyond the pale of voting for. But look at what he done here. And this is a guy who I warned everybody about. And I'm not trying to get too mad here, but it's hard not to get mad. I warned people about Joe Biden. I'm going to tweet him. I'm going to let people know. Discussing my frustration with white progressives who attacked people of color for refusing to vote for Joe Biden, despite him being actively hostile to our community. So that marked the end of that segment. I still want to dive into what Dave Strauss said, but let me get to some of the comments. Let's get to the comments. Socian said the advantage of voting third party is that no one can blame you for what happens after the election, so I can sit back and watch all this shit go down. Amen. The good thing about me voting for third party is I know I'm not complicit with none of this shit, because I voted for, like, my last lesser two evil vote was Joe Biden. For Barack Obama in 2012. That last time I voted for lesser two evil. And then every time I would read about what Barack Obama did, every time I read about a hospital that he bombed, whenever I see him like go against Standing Rock and do all these horrible stuff, him being the reporter in chief, him bailing out, like whenever I like see all the horrible stuff that he did, I felt complicit in that. So when I see all this stuff going on with Joe Biden right now, I see people already saying, like, fuck, I should never vote for him. What do you guys think I was saying the whole time? So it's bad for your spirit. It's bad for your soul, in my opinion, to vote for your oppressors. To apologize for your oppressors and to vote for your oppressors, it's harmful and damaging to your soul. It's very, very healthy to hate your oppressors. Very healthy. I feel great when I get to yell at the Democrat Party, Obama, and it gives you a sense of self-worth. Knowing that your life matters, politicians and people in power, when they cross you, your rage towards them is justified because your life has inherent value. That's very important to me. So I'm working on that Placebo Jones. I'm actually working on getting that fixed. My smoker alarm is actually broken. But I appreciate everyone watching despite that. I apologize for any noise you may hear. I'm ghetto and I'm broke, so we work on my smoker alarm battery is not even working. Like, the whole thing is gone. I would tell the computer so you see it, but it doesn't work. But it's good for us to have solidarity. Thank you for the follows. That's Solidarity Goblin. Thank you. And if you're enjoying the stream so far, please follow and subscribe. I'm trying to grow my stream, trying to grow my channel. I only need 23 more subscribers on Twitch to hit my goal this month of him hitting 100 by the end of the year. I had 22 at the beginning of this month. Kind of slowed down the last few days, but you guys put in mad work at the beginning of this month. Help me hit that goal, please. And also, I got my PayPal here if you want to support my channel as well. I'm a small independent journalist, so that would mean a lot to me. But yeah, they always tell he said butt sloganeering. Right. And I was saying, I think it's bad for your soul to vote for people who you know is not gonna fight for your community. You know, the people that are gonna actually hurt your community, because that's self harm. That's self. People want you to not to think that your community don't matter. And something that drives me crazy all the time. People are like, "Oh, you don't want to support Joe Biden because you don't care about X, Y, and Z." Like, bro, Joe Biden is more responsible for countless damage from the black community, the Muslim community, the Hispanic community. And thank you for the subscriptions, guys. We got another one from RV. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's crazy that Obama is a first generation citizen and deported so many immigrants. Woo! That's a fire comment. K31K. Damn. He said it's crazy that Obama is a first generation immigrant, but he deported so many immigrants. That's why they love skin folk at the highest levels of government, because it keep people off the game. People don't want to call out Obama because he's black. That made no sense to me. Like, I told my friends, this is how I get people to not like Obama. People get upset because I don't like Obama because I'm black. And I'm like, I hate Obama because I'm black. What? I have more criticism for Obama for betraying our community because we expected better of him. Right? Am I the only one that crazy about that? We hate Kamala Harris more because she's supposed to be black. She's supposed to represent our community. She betrays us. There's nothing that worse to me than someone who betrayed her community. So it never makes sense for me from day one. From day one. Why we should be apologizing for our black leaders. How did that make sense? So explain to me how that makes sense. I hate people because they look like me. You don't work on behalf of the oligarchy? That's what you don't do? It's crazy because, I mean, the thing that drives me crazy, because we see how Joe Biden is talking to. Actually, I'll let people know I'm talking about this as well, because I think people want to hear it. Discussing how Joe Biden talked to black civil rights leaders. Not talked, yelled at. How he yelled at civil rights leaders and how he is trying to pit the Latino community, civil rights leaders, and abandoning the Hispanic community. I'm gonna say just because of how Joe Biden yelled at civil rights leaders, I think that's good enough. Discussing how Biden yelled at civil rights leaders and telling them he owes them nothing. Telling them essentially, because he didn't say that exactly, but that's essentially what he said, right? So check this out. This came from NPR yesterday about how Joe Biden and his team, they are not even considering immigration as a top policy priority for them. And this was clear to me that that's the direction they was going to take. Because they said early on in the campaign that the Latino vote was not a path to victory for Joe Biden. They've been open about the fact that they're not going to deliver any policy concessions to Black Lives Matter, to black activists, to Latino activists. They don't care. He don't give a fuck about you. Especially now he got elected, and this is what white progressives was lecturing me about. They was lecturing me because they said you gotta vote for Joe Biden if you care for disenfranchised communities. And I'm like, what disenfranchised community is Joe Biden gonna save other than the white well-off class or anyone who's well-off? Who is Joe Biden gonna help that Donald Trump is hurting? Nobody. Joe Biden's not looking to abolish ICE. Joe Biden is going to continue the fascist police state that Trump is propping up. In fact, Joe Biden, he want to give police more money than Donald Trump, despite Black Lives Matter. But yeah, white progressives saying that we got to vote for our oppressors to save their ass. Because you got to get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. That's exactly what they're saying when they propose that. And RV posted a link to Biden's Zoom meeting. Why not? I mean, why not play it again? Thank you for posting that. How long is this? Let's see. Oh, it's good. You actually, I think you clicked it at the point. Let's listen to this for just a quick second. Let's see exactly what we talking about here.
Listen to them, and we started this commission on policing. It's almost forgotten history now because a lot of that body cameras and all are almost something that you can put in a museum.
This is a longer video. Like, I think most of you guys seen the clip of him going off to the civil rights leaders, right? He was going off at yeah, it's cool. It's full vid. Thank you. Though. I might clip it out a little bit later. I'll find a clip later. But it's not only just the black community he's making a fool out of. It's the Hispanic community. Check this out. This came from NPR. If I can pull the right one up. Because what was the big thing that came from the liberal class for the longest time? Was immigration. Was you got to vote to protect the Hispanic community because of Trump. That's the reason why we had to vote for him. But check this out. Although Biden promised to reverse Trump's most restrictive immigration policies, he didn't include immigration among his top 4 priorities: the coronavirus pandemic, the economic recovery, racial equality, and climate change. That was intentional, said a person familiar with the transition discussion. He told NPR that the Biden campaign and then transition team felt that immigration activists has become too adversarial. Do you guys see that? Joe Biden's team said they believe immigration activists has become too adversarial. Why do you think they became adversarial, Joe Biden? Because the country fucked up and elected a guy who was the vice president, the reporter-in-chief. The guy who built the cages that Donald Trump uses now. So, of course, they're going to be like, okay, we got to make sure that not only do we reverse Trump initial new policies, we have to scale back everything that led Trump to be even possible. That's what they are asking of what Biden to do. And I'm going to get exactly to their demands. And you'll see exactly how that not... Like, they say this is adversarial. You'll see what actually opposing is not that bad. It doesn't go as far as I would go. There are a number of people within Team Biden who are just uncomfortable with a lot of the policy initiatives that they recommend. What? Dude, what? Look at this. I'm going to show you. This is what they want from Joe Biden. Let me find a tweet. And this came from the person I was speaking to in the NPR interview. And this came from the people who are in those discussions. And this is what she had to say. This is Griza Martinez Rosas. Hope I said it right. So she happy that DACA is back. But what she made clear here is that the fight is not over. You see that right here? The fight is not over. Restoring DACA and doing our stuff, that's the floor, not the ceiling. Like, liberals and Joe Biden, they believe that restoring DACA, that's all they have to do. That's not, you're just getting started with DACA. Well, Griza, she demands a permanent protection from undocumented people. You gotta abolish ICE, CBP. Am I tripping? What's CBP again? Fuck. Which one that? Demand moratorium. Demand a moratorium on deportation. I'm CBD. Which one is that again? I forgot. But abolishing ICE is the bare minimum. Custom Border Patrol. Custom Border Patrol. Sorry, I'm tripping. Thank you guys. That like these are the kind of stuff that we are asking for, right? And when you look at the human rights violations that ISIS is responsible for committing, how can you not be against that? Like, they literally was responsible for forced slavery at the border. That has been proven by court case. They have rampant sexual assault allegations. I mean, rampant for years from ICE patrol agents because there's no accountability and there are no protections against any of the migrants from these sexual predators that join ICE. There's been reporting of beatings at ICE facilities, right? Yeah, ICE is under the Department of Homeland Security, and I am for the abolishing Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security original mandate was to protect American lives and American citizens. But if you look at everything the Department of Homeland Security has done, it's literally just suppressing protests, suppressing disenfranchised community like ICE has done. Like, DHS is an arm of the executive branch to crack down on people of color. And to cramp down on any objections towards the government. It's like a private militia of the executive branch. And yeah, just like Placebo Jones said, that's a great comment. DHS was a Bush post 9/11 power grab. And my question I pose to conservatives, because I said abolish DHS and everything that fall under it, like ICE. You abolish CIA. Abolish all these wasteful government programs like TSA. All these programs are not designed to work. That's small government. You guys are the big government power grab, nanny state pushing advocates. You guys want the nanny state. I don't want the nanny state. I want the cops to be defunded. I want them to fuck out of my neighborhood. And if you want to have a neighborhood full of fascist cops that's fucking with you over dime bags, giving you spin tickets, fund that with your taxpayer money in your area. That's where I stand. Because the defunded police and reallocated to the communities so they can use the money however they want. So reallocate the funds so the black community can decide we want more investment in mental health facilities. We want more investment in education. We want police to be disarmed. We want, or whoever will be serving at the police, we want them disarmed. Now, that's what I want for my community. If you have your community, you paying your taxpayer money, this is my position. If you want your fast police state, yeah, have your fast police state in your neighborhood if you want to do that. But keep that shit out of our backyards. That's my position. And that coming as a libertarian socialist, I think some abolitionists will disagree with me with that. I think they would. I think my position actually varies from a lot of other people on that. Because I think some people, they just want to get rid of the police altogether. They want to defund the police altogether. To me, I think defund should be based on the community. But the community should, as a libertarian socialist, the community should decide the kind of funding that the police should get. And if you live in a rich and white neighborhood, and you want to have a fascist police state, and you're in full military gear and with militarized weapons, keep that in your community and only in your community. I don't want to see that shit in my community. That's my position on it. Who's it? That Jackie? That sound like Jackie.
It's Jackie.
What's up? How you doing, Jackie?
I'm here to be like, you're wrong, you suck, you're terrible. No.
Jackie's in the house. Jackie's in the house. How you doing? I'm gonna put I've been doing better at on like being some sort of content producer. So I'm gonna put this text. I'm gonna say this is on. I'm gonna put on call with Jackie. That sounds professional, doesn't it? I think that works. I think that sounds dope because my production quality is not the highest.
You know what doesn't look professional? Whatever that shit is you got on your chin right now. That is not professional.
Man,
okay.
I'm trying to grow my Warriors patch out right now because I'm still really jealous that I can't grow a beard like my brother and a lot of people do. So this chin strap is all I have. This little chin goatee thing is all I have.
It's weird because it doesn't connect, and so my brain is like something's wrong. Why doesn't it connect?
Jackie, what is your Twitter? Rocky Flame was like, "What is your Twitter?" Look at that.
My Twitter is @PulseJackie.
See, you see that? I put on my stream. I said on call with Jackie. A lot of people know who you are. She is pretty much the co-host of Black Rose Brigade. A lot of you guys follow her. Pulse Jackie on Twitter. I said that's your handle on Twitter, right? If I remember it right. Let me type it in for the chat.
I have a bunch. I have @PulseJackie, which is me, and then I also have my podcast one for my movie podcast, which is Cinematic Adventures Pod. So if you want to talk movies, go to Cinematic Adventures Pod. If you want to talk literally anything, then @PulseJackie. But either way, it's me. They're both just me.
You quite literally could not have came at a better time. Because guess what I was ripping on. I mean,
you were talking about abolish the police. Yeah, I heard you. But here's the thing: I don't agree with what you're saying because fascism doesn't agree with borders. Okay, you can't have fascism within a certain county or a certain district and expect that shit not to spill over into everything else.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So it's either you abolish all of it or you abolish none of it. There's no. It's like being halfway pregnant. Like you are or you aren't.
That's a good point. I see that. I definitely see the argument in that. I definitely see defund as a road towards abolition. And I'm 100% on board of abolition. Well, I talked to a lot of abolition groups, and I understand that my position is a little bit unorthodox. But I guess you can't. I guess it would be kind of hard to get that to spill into other groups. But my thing is like, if you want to have your fascist police stay in your area, do you want to do? But keep that shit out of my neighborhood. I think as a libertarian socialist, that's kind of how I stand. But I 100%. I see where you come from.
Again, like you're looking at it from the perspective of a libertarian socialist. The whole point of being libertarian is the mindset of, hey, you do you. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. Let me do whatever I want. But that is not the position of fascism. The position of fascism is everybody does this. So you can't have there is no utopia where those two can coincide.
Yeah,
because fascism will always try to take over.
One of the things that a lot of advocates I know of defund they push for is having some sort of community policing, and so that's it. That's
literally how the police started in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you're just going back to the drawing board, and in 300 years it's going to be the same shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, that's why I just go all the way with abolish, because I feel like there's a better way to do this, and we don't need to stick with what we have now, which started. It started out as a racist institution, so you can't de-racist it.
Right.
You can't separate that system, just like capitalism inherently is racist. You can't have a non-racist or a non-exploitative capitalist system, which is why a lot of people are like, yeah, just get rid of capitalism. So technically, when you think about people who are like, oh, just reform the police, you cannot reform something that at its core started out that way.
Yeah, I'm constantly critical of that.
Yeah, so that's why I am a fan of just abolish it. And I'm not saying you can't have some kind of like peacekeeper situation, but the way that the police is structured in the United States needs to be completely undone. And you need to think of, you need to come up with something else.
And what
this is not working.
What led me to the position I have right now is because a lot of the people that work on abolition, like the 8 for Abolition, 10 Demands I'm a group of, when you actually look at their demands and what they actually want to be done, they want like the community to decide what the resources go to, and that leads to abolition. because if you have a group of funding and the community said no, we don't want any police to be in our neighborhood, that's what the initial proposal that what they're looking for. That's why they call it a road to abolition. And so that's why I say if you have a community group like in the Hamptons and like the rich neighborhoods, and then they have their fund, they're like, okay, I want to put like a militarized group here. I have a hard time seeing how we can stop them. You know what I mean? Like if just based on what they propose, based on what abolition would, keep them out. But you do make a good, very solid point. I definitely understand what you're getting at.
See, that's the liberal mindset, though. That's the neo-lib mindset. As long as it's not bothering me, like I have healthcare, I don't care about Medicare for all. Like that to me, that mindset doesn't work, because it may not be in your neighborhood, but it'll be in a neighborhood 10 neighborhoods over, and those people. So if you have to go, like say you have a job interview and you have to go in that neighborhood, well, guess what? Now you have to deal with it. So it shouldn't be just, you should just get rid of it altogether. But I don't think that you can really get rid of the police state without getting rid of capitalism. They go hand in hand, because police are there to protect property.
I agree 100%.
So to me, like the whole thing of defund the police or abolish the police, it is not a separate conversation from getting rid of capitalism. It goes hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. You can't abolish the police without ridding us of capitalism. And if you rid ourselves of capitalism, the police state goes away naturally.
See, this is exactly why I gave a spiel on my last stream how I think one of the biggest issues a lot of people on the left and a lot of progressives make, they follow what liberals do, where they cut the Overton window off at their left. What you see right here is exactly why I don't cut the Overton window off at my left, right? I think that's one of the biggest things, because I like I said, I talk to people like Ron, I talk to people like Alex, that they push me and drag me to the left. I think that's a very solid point that Jackie made. And my point originally was because I see like progressives do this all the time, where they say, I don't like people that I don't like communists, I don't like people who go too far to the left. I don't like /tankies / the same people that attack defund the police even though they're progressives. They make that mistake, and my point I make to them, I'm like, okay, if you cut the Overton window off at your left, what's the difference between you and a liberal who does the same thing to us, right? So right. I actually get what you're saying, and you make a very solid point. That could be a criticism of what some of the demands are made from Black Lives Matter. But I was also talking about. I also want to get your take on this, because I was talking to one of my friends who's a Latino activist, and she's a big immigration activist, anti-war activist, and she sees Biden, especially on the way he's talking to black leaders, and the rhetoric coming out, how he's saying the Latino population is way buried in the black community, and now there's this recent. I'll put on my stream here. I'll read it. I just covered how they feel about immigration. And that's why I was like, man, I really want to see how you feel about this, because this is what they said about immigration. Because it was the big thing that we were supposed to be voting against Trump against, right? They said that we got to vote against Trump because he had kids in cages. We got to worry about the disenfranchised community. But that immigration policies, that didn't even make any sense. Exactly. Why would you vote? Okay, if you're voting against Trump because of the kids in cages, then you can't vote for Biden because he's the one who did it. We were saying that forever, but that makes no fucking sense. And that makes no fucking sense. And many people, the Sam Cedar left, a lot of those people, they still get mad at people for not voting for Joe Biden. They're still saying that was the lesser of two evil vote, despite the fact that, as you pointed out, it didn't make any sense at face value. And what I read here was he's the lesser of two evils if your goal is to just get back to brunch. Exactly. Because you don't want to have to think about, because here's the thing. Yes, Joe Biden was complicit in all of the evil things that, have been accredited to Trump. But the difference is, and this is why I think Joe Biden is actually far more dangerous than Trump. The difference is the liberal media put a microscope up Trump's ass and showed you everything he did and was like, oh my God, that's terrible. And what everybody's saying when they want to go back to brunch is not necessarily that anything actually changes, that these policies magically stop happening, that people stop being put in cages. But now the media can move on because there's a liberal in office, so they're just going to look the other way like they did when Obama did it. Yep.
That's what they really mean. They don't actually give a shit if anything changes. They just don't want to be. They don't want to be reminded that their country is doing some shitty things.
Right. Right. And
as long as it's not a Republican in office, the media will let you go back to brunch.
And the funny thing is, I was asking this question yesterday on Twitter. I'm like, I'm looking at Joe Biden's coronavirus plan, and he's like bragging about keeping schools open. I remember when liberals lost their shit at that. Like his plan, his coronavirus plan, at the end of the day, minus the mask mandate, is quite literally the same as Donald Trump's. Like, when I look at his plan, I was asking people, I'm like, am I wrong here? What is in Biden's plan?
I was saying that during the nomination,
exactly.
or not primary, but during the election, everybody's like, oh, Donald Trump had, we would be so much better off if we had Joe Biden. I'm like, no, we wouldn't. Literally, the only difference between, I said this then, and I'm saying it again, the only difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, as far as the response to the coronavirus, would have been the fact that Donald Trump defunded the pandemic response. Joe Biden may not have done that. I say may not because he is technically a Republican, so he might have. But because Obama did it, maybe he wouldn't have. So that's about the only difference. He wouldn't have really done anything else any different. He wouldn't, he probably, honestly, the one thing that's different is I don't think Joe Biden would have done daily press conferences like Trump did in the beginning. I think Trump was actually probably a little bit more responsible than Biden would have done. Because where was Biden when Trump was doing these daily press conferences? He was hiding in a basement somewhere, hoping that we wouldn't notice he has dementia. So when you actually look at their policies and how they do things, Biden is not better than Trump by almost any metric.
And if you say that, people will be furious. I'm like, where is the lie? I literally just did a quick breakdown on Biden's bankruptcy bill and read line by line from this article about some amendments that he voted against, like the amendments that will ease the financial burden from widows of service members killed in war. He voted against an amendment that exempt women whose financial troubles stemmed from deadbeat husbands' failure to pay child support. He voted against amendments that would ease requirements for people who had struggling for medical bills. These are just very small things. While I ask people, I'm like, how do you judge what victim is better than another victim? So there's no one that can rationally tell me Donald Trump has done more damage in 4 years. Like, people will say this. I see people say this all the time on Twitter. I'm like, do you really believe that Donald Trump did more damage in 4 years than the crime bill or the bankruptcy bill? Anyone who believes that had Trump derangement syndrome at the highest order. And I'm not even talking about foreign policy, because I can bring up the Iraq War too in that. But I'm like, bro, just 4 years? You think he did more damage than the crime bill and bankruptcy bill? A lot of people believe that. Now back to the immigration thing, because I'm like, their main thing was immigration. That was the biggest selling point on why Trump was supposed to be so much beyond the pale compared to a Democrat. But this is what they said. The top priorities that Biden has come into office, he had 4 top priorities: the coronavirus, the economic recovery, racial equality, and climate change. And then people were like, where's immigration at? And then in this NPR article, I pulled it up on my screen, they said that was intentional, said a person familiar with the transition discussions. He told NPR that Biden campaign and then the transition team felt that immigration activists has become too adversarial. He said that Latino activists became too adversarial because he was the vice president, the deporter-in-chief. Because they said they want to abolish ICE. So
he created ICE. Everybody forgets that. Literally,
right.
Okay, so we're not being conspiracy theorists. It's the public record, okay? The bill that became the Patriot, the ICE, came from the Patriot Act. Okay, yes, it was George W. Bush that pushed it through, but who wrote the preamble to the bill? The bill that originally was written that ended up becoming the Patriot Act, that was written by Joe Biden.
Right.
So Joe Biden created ICE. Who thinks that he's going to get rid of it? It's his baby. It's like asking him to kill one of his children. You see how protective he is of his children. He's not going to do that. He created the damn thing. Why are people... This doesn't make sense.
It's just like crazy they say. He said a Patriot Act from too. The Patriot Act, he took credit for that.
Anybody can find this out. That's what's insane. This is driving me nuts. Everybody acts like this is... Yeah, the Patriot Act... not from 1994.
Yeah,
the
from
Patriot
the 2001. That was from response to 9/11. Yeah, the Patriot.
Yeah,
Act.
the Patriot.
But Joe Biden. I think what the commenter meant. I think what he probably mean is the fact that Joe Biden helped written, because they had something that will become the Patriot Act that was written like 97. I think that we might be referring to. That was a comment from Crazy Day was saying.
Yeah, but it wasn't. The difference is it wasn't called the Patriot Act until 2001. That's why I said not that.
Yeah.
But what Joe Biden wrote ended up becoming the Patriot Act, which was what it was called in 2001. And that's where we got ICE from and Homeland Security and all this stuff. By the way, this doesn't make any damn sense because conservatives are supposed to be the ones of small government, and this is just adding government positions.
Yeah.
It's adding government positions that are unnecessary because we already had immigration. So we didn't need anything extra. And on top of that, they haven't stopped any terrorism attacks. So it's just a waste of money. And all they do is harass people, and it should really be abolished, and that's not something... It's not like we're saying abolish the FBI, which isn't a bad idea, or the CIA, which is actively a great idea. But, it's like ICE has been around for, 10 years? You can abolish that. It's a failed experiment.
I have a friend that goes so far as saying, I don't see where the lie is at. I have a friend that says you can't even be anti-racist unless you want to abolish the CIA. How can you... Cause the CIA is literally one of the largest...
I can't
even start. Like the amount of damage they have done to Latin America, the experiments that they launched against the black community. You can't even say you're serious about making change unless you want to address the CIA. That's a whole nother topic for another conversation because we haven't got there yet. We still dealing with the basics. The fascist police state that's going through our streets. I made a post earlier about all the things I wanted to abolish. I laid it out here. I'm like, get rid of TSA, abolish ICE, defund the police. You say the abolish police. I agree with that too. I mean, you got libertarians, you got right wingers who pretend that they are small government. That's what they want. They want people to believe that. What they want to believe that they are anti-tread on me. Like, what more representative of tread on me than our positions, right? Like, we outflank them on all those positions on small. Like, they think small government is allowing billionaires and corporations to do whatever the hell they want. That's what they think small government is.
And you know what? If you committed to that and you were truly an objectivist, the Ayn Rand philosophy, if you really did believe that, I have no problem with that. Go ahead. But that means that back in 2008, all those banks go down. They don't get a bailout. None of them.
Let me see if I find that
comment.
Because
that's the true objectivism. If you actually read those books, which I did, like everybody else in their 20s, but if you actually paid attention, she did not believe in bailouts for anybody. She was like, let the market sort it out. Because here's the thing. If you do stupid shit like they did in the 2000s, because basically, and that's another thing people don't really point to, it was Bill Clinton who got rid of all of the safeguards that were preventing that market crash from 2008 from happening, which is why it happened in 2008. Because that's another thing people don't realize is when you get rid of safeguards, it's not like the reaction to act is immediate, but the repercussions are delayed. The repercussions are long term. So you don't see. So in 1996, when he gets rid of those, you don't see the outcomes until 2008, when the crash happens. Because the bubble builds and builds and builds, and eventually it bursts. And if you're a true objectivist, a true conservative, or she wasn't even conservative, honestly. She was like in between the two. But if you're a true objectivist, then when they crashed, her philosophy was, if you do stupid shit and it makes you lose your business, the next time, then the banking industry would regulate itself to be like, no. Too many went down. We can't let this happen again. But that's not what happened. Instead, the government stepped in, gave them our money without any repercussions so that they can turn around and do it again. And they still didn't even bother to put any regulations on them. So it's probably going to happen in another 15 years. Actually, not even that long, because COVID is kind of fast tracked all the horrible shit.
And Kobe, he made a comment in my chat. Kobe, my medal. He said, "No, I'm gonna get harped on, not by me, but he said he think people overestimated Trump's destruction. He said he's not even close to the worst president. Trump has did a lot of bad. And a lot of people got mad at me on Twitter once again because that when the rumor is floating around, a lot of people still believe the rumor because there's a lot of info coming from Biden camp that Giuliani wanted him to pardon Assange. But when the news story broke today that the pastor already retracted, to be clear, I was like, bro, if he pardoned Assange, like the conversation about lesser two evil is over. Like I don't even want to hear that shit no more because that would be one of the great single actions and that I've seen a president made in my life. Not to give Trump any credit whatsoever because his record is so horrible that that one thing is not gonna save that. But people got mad at me for even saying that, just saying that him doing a pardon Assange would be the greatest thing the president done. Because when you look at the damage that happened under Obama and George Bush, and the fact that Donald Trump pretty much just carried over all their policies, I don't see how anyone can pretend that Donald Trump did this unique thing into America that no president has ever done. He's the same trickle-down economic pushing that Barack Obama was, and just like you said, and we was on agreement for this on day one. I don't see any reason why anyone would believe a Democrat would do any better handling this virus. And whenever people say they would have did any better, I say how. I ask them, like, how do you think they would have did any better? Just based on what they support. Look at Biden's policy. Look at how Democrats ran their city. Look how they performed in their individual cities. Look how Andrew Cuomo has done in New York. Just for another example, how can people? What was that?
The one thing that Trump did that probably did make things worse was that when Fauci finally made up his mind to say, "Oh, everybody should wear a mask," Trump was like, "No." That's probably the only thing that a Democrat wouldn't have done.
The mask mandate. Yeah, the mask mandate.
Yeah, but to be fair, Fauci originally said that it didn't do any good. Fauci said that. And he said, because everybody was like, should we be wearing masks? And he was like, he actually said, I don't see any reason for people to wear masks. There's no evidence that it does any good. Now, he knew he was lying.
Yeah, he lied. And
so here's the thing. Like, I don't trust people that willingly lie. Like, if the science wasn't in yet, that's one thing. But that's not the case. They knew. He knew that that masks save people.
He just lied.
And that if you should, he straight up lied. And there's something else, I don't remember what it was, but he was caught in another lie. So that's why I'm like, yo, I don't trust Fauci. And people are sitting here, like, I got straight attacked on Twitter when I was like, yo,
they love Fauci for some reason. Dude, people were floating him getting Times Person of the Year and shit. Like, people wanted him to be the guy, even though he was a caught liar.
He straight up lied. Now here's the thing, like, I'm not a fan of Trump. But that doesn't mean that I trust Fauci, because I don't trust Fauci, because I don't trust anybody who looks straight into a camera and tells a bald-faced lie and they know that they're lying. I don't trust you now. So when he's saying everybody needs to get the virus, and I noticed there's this particular talk, so nobody really cared back when the stats came out that it was mostly black people who were dying from coronavirus, but now he's like, hey, black people need to get the vaccine. Okay, so now I don't trust you at all. I didn't trust you initially because you lied. You lied multiple times, you were caught, and you just wrote it off, okay? But now you're specifically targeting black people. Whenever the government targets black people for medical experiments, which that's what this vaccine is, let's face it. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. But again, vaccines do not come out in less than 1 year.
Everyone I've seen doubting the vaccines, they come at it. Yeah, there's a difference between just doubting vaccines and understanding how vaccines are made. And the people I've seen that are skeptical about the vaccine just say, yo, I'm not anti-vaxxer. I just know that it should take longer than this. Like, are you kidding? Like, it's just like, there's a difference.
COVID-19 has been out for exactly 1 year, like 1 year and 1 month, right? It came out in November of last year, okay? It takes a minimum of 2 to 4 years for a vaccine, for a viable, safe vaccine to be produced. Now, here's the thing that gets me. Trump is actually the one who repealed the regulations to make it come out so fast. But now that Joe Biden's president-elect, it's the Democrats who are saying, oh, if you don't take it, you're an anti-vaxxer.
Right?
Why? Because now that now here's the thing: those very same people, had Trump been reelected, they would have been the ones saying it's faulty science, it's too fast.
Yep. Actually, I did see that kind of chatter too before the election. I did see that chatter too. Now that chatter is completely done from the liberal class, right? I know exactly.
Now, if you mention anything about it, and by the way, most of the people that I've seen speak up and say that they are skeptical of this virus are either scientists themselves or doctors. It's not just lay people like me. It's actual people who are like, "Yo, this is not. I don't trust this. Like, it's not been out long enough. There's no way you know the long-term benefits because the disease itself has only been around a year,
right?
And it takes a minimum 2 years just to develop a proper vaccine protocol. And here's the thing: like the way the protocols go, you come up with something that you learn about the virus, you study it, like the scientists study it, and then they try to do different things, to come up with a vaccine to prevent someone from catching it, because a vaccine is not the same thing as a cure. I think that's another thing a lot of people don't realize. A vaccine is not a cure. A vaccine is a method of hoping to prevent you from coming down with it. Not if you have it, you'll be safe. It'll make you healthy. It's not the same thing. So I don't think people realize. I think a lot of people are getting confused about the terms.
Right.
So what they try to do is they try to make it so that when the disease is present, you don't get sick with it, or at least you don't get it to the full effect. And what they have to do is they usually start out with mice, and then when they think they've got it down with mice, then they move up to monkeys because they're primates, and each testing phase takes months. And here's the thing: I hear people saying like, "Oh, they did it concurrent." Well, you can't just go straight to monkeys because you have to start on the mice to see if it works.
Yeah, I was saying, how can they do it that fast? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, that's the thing that scares me the most.
Exactly my point. And then after you get to the point where you discover, okay, it works. We think we have a viable vaccine. Now you start the human trials. And that's when you learn what the side effects are. And that takes at least 1 to 2 years to do, because that's when you learn, like, oh, a side effect may be sterilization. Well, you can't let a possible vaccine be worse than the disease itself. Yeah. So you're like, okay, go back to the drawing board. We have to figure out what made that happen and turn that off. And then you try it again. So you start testing all over again. And then you're like, okay, well, this one is like they made them blind. Well, you got to start again. So, and that takes time. You cannot shortcut that process.
And I feel that's the biggest skeptic.
That process works. It makes sense to be skeptical because you're like, yo, the virus itself has only been around for a year. Granted, it is part of the SARS family, but this is not a SARS virus. It is a SARS virus, but it's not the same thing, because if it were, we would have had a vaccine already.
Right.
Or they would have an adequate treatment. But the reason why it's ravaged the world, even though the SARS vaccines have been out for years, the reason why this particular virus has ravaged the world is because they can't treat it with the regular SARS medicine, with the treatments that they have. And they can't use the regular SARS vaccines because it doesn't work. And nobody has mentioned mutation, which is a thing that happens with viruses all the time.
Right.
And when you think that you have it down, because that's also another reason why things take so long. You might think you have it down. You're like, okay, this is the version of the vaccine that works. And then the virus in the real world mutates. And now with all of that work that you just did is rendered moot because the vaccine's changed now. Why it takes so long, and you can't get rid of that time. Like, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hear
magically turn 5 years into 3 months. You can't do that.
This is what make them even more shady, right? The people who pushing this vaccine, because when I'm listening to what you're saying right now, I don't hear anything that should be considered controversial. I mean, it seems like it's based on natural understanding of how a vaccine should be manufactured, and the fact that they're so desperate to get people to take it, that kind of, I'm like, bro, you got to have a lot of questions to answer based on what you're telling me right now, because it's terrifying. Thing about people, because I think me being anti-establishment as I am, and me not trusting anything that they say, I see them pushing this vaccine out despite them no way having tested it enough and not having enough time to have a proper vaccine because they just want people to get back to work. They just want people to get back to work. They just want society to go back to normal. That kind of what Biden and their crew is pushing, and that's why I was just wondering. Like, I don't understand how COVID is supposed to get under control when you got the same policy of Trump is forcing kids to go back to school. Where I mean, there have been studies that came out. So I saw a study a few weeks ago. It was like kids are like the super spreader of these of COVID-19. So so I'm like, whew, we're screwed either way. That's what we said from the very beginning. We're screwed either way, and people sold their soul to fight and get Biden elected, and nothing not really gonna fundamentally change. We sacrificed the Me Too movement for Joe Biden. Now there's a new story that Andrew Cuomo has an accusation. Actually, let's look at that because I don't want to get the names or anything wrong. Let me pull it up right here so you guys see it. And this is like I tell people my Twitter names. I have a good time with them. I'm not gonna share screen it, but I'm gonna put it on my stream here just to save some resources for you, Jackie. But I'm also gonna read it out just so you know what we are referring to. But Lindsey Bowen, one of the people that followed me on Twitter, so I saw the story and it kind of broke my heart. And the thing that pisses me off the most is how the Me Too movement had to die for Joe Biden, because I've been reading the responses from the liberal class who pretended to support Me Too for the longest. They already are starting to victim blame. They already are using right-wing talking points like, oh, Andrew Cuomo been floated for a Biden cabinet position. I don't remember exactly which one, but he flown for a Biden position. That's why they come up with these attacks. And now, once again, I ask you guys, like, what's the difference between blue MAGA and red MAGA? We seeing the same thing, because this is a brand new accusation, just came out, and you already see them smearing Lindsay. You already see them casting down on her accusation, which I do think that you should have a fair trial in these kind of situations. But when you immediately start victim blaming, immediately start attacking the accuser, you are no different from the right wingers that I despise myself. Right? So a former aide to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo accused him of sexual harassment. Lindsey Bowen had worked for a Cuomo administration from 2015 to 2018, and I've seen like people using attacking points on that as well. Well, it was like
you cut out for a while.
I cut out.
Yep.
Let me see. Okay, I see my Discord went out. I didn't see that. I'm back. Okay. So what I was saying was, in this story here, it shows that she worked with Cuomo from 2015 to 2018, and I seen liberals already use that against her, like using the right wing talking points where like, oh well, you stay with them for a few years, so it's not like, why didn't you leave? So I mentioned earlier the culture of degeneracy in the Democratic Party, and among, not even just the Democratic Party, but among the elite class, that made Kamala Harris, Lindsey Graham fist bump. Like, they all friends, it's all one big group, and they all push this culture of degeneracy. She put out a tweet here, I'll put it on my screen, where she came out and said, yes, Governor Cuomo sexually harassed me for years. Many saw it and watched. See, that's the thing that pissed me off the most. Many saw it and watched. Like, that's the thing that you see all the time in these Me Too stories, that now that Democrats are doing their best to shut down. Like, because they already going after her. They already going after her.
Me Too really, so you're not reading the fine print. It's Me Too. It's believe all women that are going against Republican men.
Yep.
Because it's not believe all victims, because men can be victims too. And it's not believe all women when their oppressors were Democrats, especially when they're your particular candidate. It's believe, because like, look at Harvey Weinstein. He's best friends with Hillary Clinton, which is how he got away with so much shit for so long. She never said a damn thing about him.
Wait, so Cuomo, someone in the chat just put this link in here. I lost it. I want to give him credit. My sorry again, Mrs. Sunday, Ancon Library, my homie. She put this link in here. I didn't hear about this before stream, so this guy Raph, I'm gonna put it on my stream so you guys can see. Actually, you guys see it now. It said Cuomo released in private personal documents on a woman who accused him of sexual harassment prior is not retaliation, it's a warning. Wait, so he did what? He released private personal documents. Bro, that is some next level gangster shit.
That's why I can't stand K-Hive, because that's what they do. Liberals will dox you if you come out against them. Remember, Neera Tanden did that. If you come out and you say something, like if you admit that that a Democrat did something bad, they dox your ass.
Yeah, I have friends Erica.
That's their first thing.
Yeah. Erica, she's open about the fact they literally try to get her like kids taken away. I literally know people. My good friend Kay, she was doxxed. She was talked about them as well, and many others. They even released that article. I didn't even read that article out here one day. But yeah, this is why I love my handles are funny, but they never exaggerations, right? Because this is exactly the culture that comes from Harvey Weinstein. Because as she said, people seen this going on. Like this is not a new thing. This is not a new thing with them, right? So it's the culture that they are creating right now in the Democratic Party that leads us to go on and continue. And this is something I see going on with them propping up Joe Biden. They literally just had Bill Clinton as one of the speakers of the DNC right after he was implicated for being a part of Jeffrey Epstein's step string operation. I mean, that's by court documents how that was implemented, and this is what they.
Well, he was on the Hawaiian Express like 26 times, more than anybody. Trump was on there, but only like twice. So technically, the libs are much worse than Trump when it comes to that.
Yeah. Dang.
Like Trump distanced himself quick, fast, and in a hurry. He was like, "Oh, he liked him young. Yep, I didn't do that. I don't know." Yeah, he was. I'm gonna go ahead and be over here, away from that shit. But I mean, if you go back to that time, the Clintons and Trumps were best friends, and they were good friends with the Epsteins and the Weinsteins.
Look at this.
There are pictures with all of them in the same. Like they're all buddies.
Look at this link that Crazy Day sent. I'm gonna put on my. That's a great link. Thanks for sharing. Like, keep it coming, guys. I love the information that you guys are passing to us here. I think this is. This is something that we already know. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got a big boost from troll farms online. That's pretty much what K-Hive is, and that's the point I always want to make, because I always post that graph. And I'm super happy that poll that I posted, because I remember when the Times Person of the Year was released. I just simply replied with a poll that showed that Kamala Harris only had 1% black support, and that went kind of viral. So I'm glad that people, because I think that's a very important point that we can't stop making. Like, we gotta let people know that Kamala Harris was manufactured and chosen by the oligarchy, but she was brutally rejected by her community. Well, not really her community, but you know what I mean. Like, the community in which they want us to believe that she was a part of, and a community in which she followed. She never was a part of the black community. I'm not racing her blackness, but that's just a fact. Because I made a point on my stream. I don't think we gain anything from pretending that Kamala Harris don't have a black woman experience. I think it's important to point out that the reason why she's so reprehensible is because she passed as a black woman and she continued to sell our community. So that's why I stand on that, and that's what this article is talking about here that I put on my Twitch stream.
Oh, okay.
But what are your take on that?
Going by what you said, when you said she didn't have the black experience, she was raised by her mother who's not black.
Exactly. And that was the point I was making in particular.
So it's like she, on top of that, like, for her, from what I've seen from her identity tends to be whatever is most convenient.
Yep.
So if she is in a situation like when Black Lives Matter came out, she's all about being black. But if there was a situation where there's something about being Asian, she's Indian. She is both. But with her, it's more... For her, it's more taking advantage of the system. Yeah. To, like, she's using identity politics to advance her career, or to, in some cases, protect her career, as opposed to actually fighting for people who look like her. Right. That's like where that's saying, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Just because you look like me doesn't mean you're gonna fight for me or you give a shit about me.
It said one of the comments here, 64 Square Post says she's a Brahmin Indian, the highest in the caste system. I'm not gonna pretend I know much about the Indian caste system, but kind of speaks volumes, right? It's like the same people that pretend they are like there's some sort of disenfranchised class because they fled Cuba from Fidel Castro. Like that's the story, like Ana Navarro and Joe Biden. I think I don't remember his name on top of my head, but Joe Biden picked one of his cabinet picks is someone who fled Cuba, but his family actually had like farms and slaves and shit. Like that's like the same thing I kind of see whenever some people try to pretend that they come from some privileged, disenfranchised position when they essentially came from a privileged family. I need to look up his name. I wonder if you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't remember exactly what position he was selected to. Was it? I think was it DHS? I don't remember.
I envy me is technically correct because Obama also was raised by his mother, who was white.
Right.
Now, granted,
that's how they find these people.
With Obama, it's different because even though his mother is white, he's still like when people see him, they see a black man.
Right.
Whereas with Kamala, it depends on how she portrays herself because she can portray herself as Indian and it works. She can portray because Indians and blacks look close enough alike. She can identify.
I didn't know she was. I thought she was literally just a light skinned chick until I didn't know she was full Indian. Like so that
name's Kamala.
Yeah. Well, black girls got names of everything, so I'm like, I'm not thinking about that.
Right, technically, yeah. All right.
I was thinking like, oh, but when I heard it, I wasn't surprised. But
I forget that sometimes because my name is like the most generic you can be. So
yeah, I'm Nick, so I'm supposed to be just normal, boring name on that one. Definitely a boring name on that one. We need but yeah, I envy me. He pretty much made that argument as well. And I think last week we had a discussion. My point was like, my point originally like I 100% agree with the point that they didn't live the black experience. I guess it's almost in a sense that I want to attack the idea that they represent our communities.
I think Barack Obama did because he's hard pressed to get away with not being considered black.
Yeah, and my point I was making at the time when I was pushing back, I said I think it's a point for us not to erase the blackness because their failure to represent us as a black representative is important to know. What I mean by that is we can't just have public officials that are black like, okay, I'm black and you're supposed to support me for this. So instead of using their sellout, they don't know anything about community angle, how about we use the angle that they didn't deliver despite them being part of the community? You know what I mean? I think that's a strong message as well. You know,
there's a component that we haven't discussed, which is it's a similar vibe with women where like women will try to get to the top and then they'll end up being more cutthroat to other women because they don't want to be considered they don't want it to look like they're being soft on women. There's that component racially as well.
Yeah, that's what W.B. Du Bois was talking about.
Where in some instances, a black person can rise to the top, and then when they get there, they're like, oh, there's all this pressure on you, and it can be not just like a presidency, but like in a company or in any type of a situation.
Yeah.
Where
I am amused that Fred Hampton talked about it as well.
Yes. Where you're the only one to achieve that, and now you have to think like, okay, am I going to fight on behalf of black people, or am I going to try to walk the line so that I don't get kicked out?
Yeah, and
because if I get kicked out, then I can't do anything.
I put up this quote that I covered a few times on my stream, but it's just golden because when I was reading Socialism in American Negro by W.B. Du Bois, I literally had to cut this part out because it was like I'd never seen a perfect description of like the Jason Johnsons, of the Joanne Reeds. Like this is perfect. He said a class structure began to arise within the Negro group that produced haves and have-nots, intended to encourage the more successful Negroes to join the forces of monopoly and exploitation to help victimize their own classes and any other classes lower that was possible. Because they felt like to remedy the situation, Negroes thought gaining political power was a step towards their emancipation. Like this came directly from W.B. Du Bois, and I saved that and I use it all the time because as soon as I read it, like, damn, on the money. That's literally what Kamala and them are designed to do. Barack Obama designed to do. Jim Clyburn is designed to do. Oh yeah, Kobe My Metal found the guy I was talking about. I didn't even memorize his name because I told people like, man, sometimes I forget people's name. Yeah, it was the Biden. Yeah, it was Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro. Let me put it up on stream so you guys can see it. This guy I was talking about earlier. Someone found the link for me. Alejandro Mayorkas. Sorry, I shouldn't even try to say that. And then this is how they painted every single Joe Biden's pick. Cause look at the headline here. Mayorkas, if confirmed, will be the first Latino immigrant to lead the Department of Homeland Security. Skin folk that look like us, but he's literally a part of the ruling class. And then I remember another story was like, yeah, he fled from Cuba. His family was victimized by Castro. And then if you look into what his family did, like, bro, they were literally slavers. Like, bro.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, there's this thing. Not to be like racist against Cubans, but let's be real, okay? A lot of the people who come from Cuba, who come to the United States, who are like, Castro was evil, they were white people who left the United States, moved to Cuba to exploit Cuba, and then when Castro came to power, he kicked their asses out.
And I even
they were like, and because their family, like, it was their fathers who moved there, and they were technically born in Cuba, they identify as Latino, but they are not Latino. They're just white people who moved from the U.S. to Cuba and then moved back from Cuba to the U.S. when Castro got into power.
Yeah,
and to me, the only Latino credit they have is the fact that they speak Spanish because they were technically born in Cuba. But it's just like being a white person born in South Africa.
That's a great.
You're not black.
That's a solid. And that was the chat is saying. The chat. I got a picture up on the chat. And he's like, I am me just laughing. Say that's a white guy. And then I see people backing you up too. I mean, that why Gusano isn't considered a slur, right? Jay Marie said facts on the WB. So he said facts on WB. Okay, so you agree with that? I stepped down from my management because it felt like I was against my own team. I ran. I couldn't deal with it anymore. All right, props to you, bro. Pretty much propping up unionized workplaces. That's where to go. But yeah, this guy is a colonizer. At the end of the day, these are the people that they're propping up as some sort of historic first, and that's what it is throughout the entire of Biden's cabinet, right? Because I remember Susan Rice was being floated for a cabinet position. Like, bro, she's been responsible for some of the most horrific foreign policy decisions of the United States. You had Michelle Envoy as the defense secretary that Joe Biden's gonna announce for, and she literally was a weapon manufacturer. Like she literally was a lobbyist for them, and what she did is she helped weapon manufacturers get contracts from the U.S. government. Like, that was literally what her specialty was. And so these are the kind of people that you just see in Biden's cabinet, and they being propped up as as Joe Biden reaching out to these communities. Like, bro, these people are not part of the community as we will usually say it. They are the ruling class. They're the oligarchs, right?
Mm-hmm. They are essentially they have the identity, but they use the identity to mask their capitalism.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically,
exactly. That's how you move up. If you're a person of color, if you're a person of color, and you trying to pretend you to be a radical, that shit's not about to happen. That shit's not about to happen at all. But anyway, I think we're about 2 hours in. I usually want to keep these about 2 hours. Thank you for jumping on the call, Jackie. I've been doing this Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. my time. Anytime you're welcome. But anyway, thanks for watching. I don't want to go for 3 hours like I did a few times last week. But I'll be back tomorrow, same time, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. So 3 p.m. Eastern time. So you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, if you enjoyed watching, sorry I came a little bit late. Hopefully you catch it next time.